inspiring is the fact that young people are so open to this message and so interested and so excited about what's happening. And they come to my office now, literally in dozens in Washington. And it's very interesting. The young people will come, and their parents frequently will be with them because they might be young teenagers or older teenagers or young college kids, but very often the parents will come. And I'll ask them, I'm always interested in, what was it that made you become interested? Is there a particular issue? It's usually the general issue, and almost inevitably they bring up the issue of the Constitution. So I just think that is great that these young people are saying, I love the Constitution. Put down any of my businessmen friends around and those individuals, but generally speaking, the average businessman who's up to bid in age will come in. I never hear them saying, I want you to really follow the Constitution, because they're coming usually to get a contract from the government. Or they're coming from some drug company that wants to perpetuate this medical system that we have that serves the interests of the drug companies and the PBMs and the But it's fascinating because the ideas of freedom are very young in the course of all history. If you look at 6,000 years of recorded history, we've only had a taste of it. Almost all of history has been involved with dictators and kings and Caesars and always oppressing the people. And yet the ideas of the importance of the individuals have been known for a long time. But it's only been in real recent times, really in our history, that the creative energy of individual responsibility has been allowed to blossom. And this is what we have to preserve. This is what we have to realize, that if we are to be compassionate about our fellow man, which many are in Washington, but I think they do the wrong things. They are compassionate. True compassion means you have to be a believer and an understanding of liberty and how it works. Because liberty is what produces the goods and the services that eradicates poverty. It was only with the Industrial Revolution, and especially with the freedoms we had in this country, that actually it was the Industrial Revolution and freedom that got rid of child labor. It wasn't child labor laws, it's the magnificence of freedom and the way it works. So this is something that we as conservatives and libertarians and constitutionalists have to realize, that we cannot seem to lack compassion, because in that case it seems to be self-serving and suspect. But it is truly the only system that can allow us to take care of the maximum number of people. The goal would never be equality, because once there's equality is the goal that we seek through political action. Sure, you can achieve equality of poverty is what you end up with. But indeed, our revolution was a grand revolution, and I would like to think that our revolution today is a continuation and an advancement of the revolution that was started more than 200 years ago. The most important thing is that we see liberty as being something individual. Not only do I see this in my spiritual life, and my individual life is important because of the Christian teachings. At the same time, in politics and in economics, the individual is important too. And we get our life and liberty from our Creator. We don't get it from our government. That's right. So far from this concept that we now talk about rights as entitlements. People, I've already been asked in this campaign on national TV, and I'll say, well, isn't it true that everybody has a right to medical care? The answer is no, they don't have a right to medical care. What we have a right to is our life, our liberty, and our ability to pursue our happiness, and that is to work hard and keep the fruits of our labor. Very much convinced that if you have a free market to provide the goods and services, that you will provide the maximum beneficial medical care for the most number of people. It is not going to be provided through the welfare state or socialism, because even though some may seem to have an advantage, it's always at the expense of the system, at the expense of liberty, and it ends up and participates in the bankruptcy of the country. So when they give us this stuff about entitlements being rights, it's a gross distortion of what the whole concept is, and will actually do us much more harm. This contradicts what the founders wanted and what they have given us, a constitution that is very uniquely designed. If you read the Constitution very carefully, it is a list of prohibitions. And they're not prohibitions against free individuals, they are prohibitions against our government. I'm also convinced that the problems that we face today, and they are many, could be solved rather easily. I believe that for the most part, we've gotten ourselves into this predicament, mainly because we have ignored the Constitution, and we can get out of our problems by merely going back to the rule of law and looking to the Constitution and looking to our founders and the advice they gave us. Yeah. I received a very special gift. Somebody sent it to me in the mail. It was a newspaper. It came from Massachusetts, and the date on the newspaper was 1803 when Jefferson was president. At the top of the page, they had a Jefferson quote: peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, no entangling alliances. Appropriate for me to have that, and I thought that was really very, very nice, because that says so much, and it teaches us so much, and that's a lesson that we have forgotten, especially in my lifetime. In the last 100 years, we have gone astray on our foreign policy, and there's no reason why we can't come to our senses, and we have to do it soon. Because countries that overextend themselves, even the wealthy empires, the powerful nations, they inevitably stretch themselves too far, and they end up bankrupting the country itself. And I'm afraid that is going to happen if we don't change our plans. There's no reason in the world we can't resurrect the founding fathers of foreign policy, and that of the Constitution, and that is mind our own business and bring our troops home.